If you've ever scrolled on TikTok or Instagram Reels, you've probably seen this image before, with the caption reading Top 10 Most Disturbing or Banned Films Ever Made, or something along that nature. About a week ago, my friend recommended me this obscure horror film called Begotten. After recognizing that same image from the start of this video, I decided I'd give it a watch. And after watching it a few days ago, today I decided I'd share my opinion. See, I don't really know if I actually liked this movie or hated it. I think to explain my opinion, I'd have to dive deeper into the details of the story, or lack thereof. See, this, in my opinion, doesn't even have a resemblance to anything related to a movie. It felt like watching the stereotypical college film student's first ever avant-garde horror film. It didn't feel like anything more than a stylized snuff film. See, I'm already getting ahead of myself by complaining, so I guess I'll go back and start with the beginning of this quote-unquote story. The movie opens with that same scene I mentioned, with this figure in an abandoned shed in the forest disemboweling himself to death. The scene, after the initial shock value of its grotesque nature wears off, simply lasts for way too long. I already got the point and understood what was happening after the first 10 seconds of the shocking nature of the scene, yet it lasts for at least another 5 minutes. You see the aftermath of his death, along with him shitting himself in the chair that he sits in and the poop running down his leg and landing on the floor. Again, besides pure shock value, this felt really unnecessary. Then we see this lady figure come from under him, dance around the room a little, jerk off his dead body, then rub the semen in her bush. And bush is an understatement, that was more like a whole forest down there. Anyway, again, besides just pure shock value, it felt like there was nothing beyond the surface of what was really happening. Yet somehow, this scene actually sets up the rest of the story in this movie. After that, she became pregnant and gives birth to this person who moves around on the ground in agony and looks like the survivor of an atomic bombing. There's no dialogue in this movie, and the visuals are in this grainy black and white, meant to look like a movie born from the 1920s. Even though this movie is meant to fit that aesthetic, it actually was made in the late 80s or early 90s. And you can kind of tell because it has that 90s sort of angst and edginess in the visuals and storytelling. You sort of have to just see it to understand what I mean. I personally am glad that this film looks as shit as it does, because if it was made in color, then the violence and gore would have felt completely exploitative, and I actually would have loathed this movie even more. Anyways, back to the plot. So now this lady and her son are walking the earth when they come across these faceless nomadic people. There they take the son, brutally torture him to death in an unnecessarily long scene, and hang him by his umbilical cord. After this, the mother resurrects him and they continue walking. The movie starts to wrap up when they meet the nomads again, and this time they start by sexually assaulting the female, torturing her, then dismembering her. Then they do the same thing to the son. The final shot is of the ground of the earth slowly growing grass and flowers. By the end of this movie, I was bored and pissed off. There are two ways you can approach this quote-unquote film, as a movie or as a moving art piece. The reason I say that is because I didn't understand what the movie was trying to represent until after the credits, when they gave the names to the characters. Even then, I needed a synopsis from a Reddit comment to really understand what was trying to be told to me. Basically, the opening scene with disembowelment is actually a representation of God killing himself. The lady born from him was Lady Earth and gave birth to the Son of Earth. Going back to what I said and the reason why I said I was pissed off and bored, I was mad because from a filmmaking perspective, it felt like a complete waste of time. I was bored because after the first 45 to 50 minutes, the shock value of everything that was happening completely wore off, and I was left just waiting for the movie to end while scrolling on my phone. The film is only 70 minutes, yet it's somehow dragged on for way too long. The visuals were boring, the story was boring, and as a movie, it was just boring. I don't have any issues with what the director was trying to say or convey in his messaging and themes. That's why I said you can approach this as a film or moving art piece. I don't have a problem with the storytelling, or with the story itself, or its nihilistic tone or messaging that humanity causes nothing but suffering. Those are interesting pieces of discussion to be had. My issue is that how it was conveyed visually was completely insulting to my time spent watching this. From a filmmaking perspective, it was just bad. Again, I don't dislike the movie for what it was trying to say or do, but because it was just a bad movie. So even though I found this movie unlikable as a film, I can't say I fully don't recommend you watch this, because if you do approach it as an art piece rather than a conventional film, there is a discussion to be had here. As of recording this, if you want to experience this movie for yourself, it's uploaded in full for free here on YouTube. So overall, if I were to rate this movie, it would probably be a 32 out of 100. I just didn't like the feeling that I was wasting my time. If you decide to watch this, let me know down in the comments what your opinions are. Of course, I would like to know what you think about this movie as well, and hopefully we can have a more meaningful discussion about what was really happening. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Begotten. Thank you so much for listening and watching this video. Again, please share your comments and any thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys next time.